This is Backstage Sonoma, your all-access pass to the local music scene.
Coming to you from beautiful downtown Santa Rosa, this is the Backstage Sonoma podcast. And now, here's your host, Steve Roby.
This is Backstage Sonoma, and I'm Steve Roby. The Coffis Brothers are a Santa Cruz-based band known for their timeless rootsy rock and roll sound. Their sixth studio album, Coffis Brothers, is set to release on November 29th. Today we'll dive into the creative process behind the record, what it's like working with producer Tim Bluhm for the third time, and the unique recording locations that help shape the album's vibe. Whether you're a longtime fan or new to their music, this episode is packed with insights and stories from one of the Bay Area's most popular bands. Kellen Coffis will join me shortly, and to start things off, here's the opening track from their upcoming album. This is the Coffis Brothers with Take It From Me.
I've owned a few nice things, enough to call them mine. They've all been scratched and dinged, but they still do fine. And all the lines on my face, some new ones every day. It's like I'm seeing myself for the very first time, but I don't know what to do or say. The right words never come my way. Yeah, it's been hard getting out of this rut, acting like a stick in the mud, and running back the same old boring routine. I think I talk too much. You say it's not enough. I'd rather sit and watch from out on the side. But there's been times I've lost, there's been some lines I've crossed, but I don't get caught up just to get untied. But it's hard to feel those good vibrations when you're stuck in isolation. Yeah, it's been hard getting out of this rut, acting like a stick in the mud, and running back the same old boring routine. Now it's time we get over this stuff.
You just heard Take It From Me from the Coffis Brothers' upcoming studio album. I'm Steve Roby, and Kellen Coffis is joining me now. Hey, Kellen, welcome to Backstage Sonoma.
Hey, Steve, thanks for having me.
So glad you could be here. For those in our audience new to your music, could you give us a brief version of the band's musical career so far?
My brother, Jamie, and Kyle Poppin, our guitar player, we started playing music back in 2010, or we started the band around then, and a few members have changed since then, but we've always loved rock and roll music since we were little kids. We've been touring fairly heavily the last 10 years, mostly throughout the West Coast, and just evolved as you would, and now we're 14 years later and still playing rock and roll music and still having fun doing all that. And then we've got a new album coming out, and this will be I think it's our 6th album, which sounds like a lot to me, but I'm pleased with our progress. That's cool.
Yeah, that's quite an accomplishment.
Thank you. When you put it like that, yeah, it is.
Not many bands survive that long, let alone have 6 albums. So it's a good milestone. Yeah. Let's talk about that 6th studio album, which, by the way, is phonetically spelled. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah. The obvious one is just that we've been a band for 14 years, and as we're walking on stage, about 50% of the time, we get introduced as the Coffis Brothers, which has never really bothered us that much, but we figured we might as well tell everyone how we prefer it to be pronounced at this point. So it took us a while to get the courage to let people know that they've been pronouncing it wrong, but we thought it's really tongue-in-cheek. It's a little bit on this album is still the Coffis Brothers, but it's a new version of us. It's just how we evolved.
Reminds me of what Skinner did with their first album. Okay, so you picked up on that. That's great.
It's funny that you mentioned that. We've had this idea for a while. I think we originally just wanted to make a T-shirt of it, but after we decided to commit to the album, I read a Leonard Skinner book recently, and then started listening to them, and was reminded that their first album is called Pronounced Leonard Skinner, spelled phonetically. So I'm happy it has been done before.
Yeah.
And it's a funny way to do it.
Great. So how does this upcoming album, differ from your previous releases? And what was it like working with Tim? How do you pronounce his last name? Is it Bluhm?
Tim Bluhm.
What was it like working for him for the 3rd time with you guys?
We love Tim, and he's become a really good friend and mentor to us for the last, since we met him really 5 or 6 years ago, and have a really good relationship with him. So you make one album with someone and you become really close, but now we're on a 3, and we feel very comfortable, even to the point where several of these songs, or I guess all of the songs to an extent, we worked with him on writing, some more than others. We just have a good relationship now that we trust each other. We know what we want to get out of it, and nobody cares whose idea wins. It's just, let's try to get to the best thing that we can get to. We never have set out to make any type of specific record. We just go with what songs we've got and what songs we're working on. But what is unique about this record is that for the first time we were on almost like a deadline. We had dates booked in the studio from the label we were working with at the time. And we knew we were going to go into the studio at some point in the fall, but didn't know where. But eventually it was like, hey, October 10th, you're going in, or whatever. I think it was around this time a couple of years ago. And me and Jamie, who write the songs, we buckle down and spend some time and just crank out a bunch of songs. And for a month or so, we just had a little text thread going with Tim, and would just shoot ideas to him, and we get some feedback on, this one's real strong. Let's keep working on this. And it was a different process for us. Usually we'd come into the studio with the songs pretty much fully finished, even often performed live. There's positive things to that too, because you can be really efficient. I really enjoyed being like experimental on the floor of the studio, and being open to trying new things and not having any attachment to an arrangement that we'd come up with months ago or something like that. We just got to be free to just try some new things and be open to it. Yeah. So I think that comes across in this record. If you've listened to the Coffis Brothers before, I think you'll hear that in this one. But ultimately, it's still rock and roll. We didn't change the instrumentation. We didn't change the lineup. We are who we are.
I think this is a pretty good time to have you introduce to our audience the lineup.
I'm Kellen speaking. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I play guitar and sing, and my brother Jamie Coffis is singing and playing the keyboards. Kyle Poppin is the lead guitarist. And then there's Aiden Collins, who's from Santa Rosa, on bass and he sings harmonies. And then Corey Graves is the drummer, and he's played with us since 2019, 20. He's still the new guy, but even Corey's been with us for a while now.
Nice. The album was recorded in several locations, including, as you mentioned, Kyle Poppin, his home studio. How did recording the album in more personal spaces influence the vibe or the sound of the album?
It's a good question. I'm not exactly sure how it did. When you're in a studio that the clock is ticking on, that just automatically changes the mentality. I do think we've gotten better at being okay with going, if the thing isn't done by the end of this day, it's okay. It's not like we have to finish it. It allowed us to just try ideas without being worried about if it was going to work or not. Often might not. We would go in there and say, hey, we need a new guitar part. Let's try this. And then we would try it and go, maybe not. But that's an important thing to be able to do, I think. And it's really nice to be able to do it. And often you don't have that luxury of time often when you're in a studio. But we've had a little bit of that luxury even with working at Tim's home studio. And that's a really cool thing to have an idea and then be able to just go record it right then.
Yeah, nice.
Well, let's talk about the band's approach to songwriting. Would you say your method has evolved over the years, especially as the band has grown tighter and more experienced?
The basic method of writing hasn't changed too much. Most of our songs, if not all of them, can be played very easily on acoustic guitar or piano and sung that way. And that hasn't really changed. But what has changed is just like arrangements. We might come in less attached to the arrangement that we have initially. When we bring it to the band, we're often changing. For the most part, Jamie and I like to come with the songs like we feel like they're complete. Mm-hmm. Even if, and maybe we know something could get better, but for the most part, we want them to be pretty complete. And then that allows us to, if we come up with something better, or maybe it's just naturally we play with 4 other people, something's going to sound different and we're open to changing. But really, it's all about like melody for us, and that's where it starts. Sometimes it'll start with a guitar riff or some sort of riff, but really it's melody and groove, and that's where we start and generally. But the only thing that's involved really is just a little bit more collaboration between us and the band and us and Tim. But it's always relatively the same method.
All right. Could you share the backstory for that song? Do you want to?
That's a good example of one that kind of started from a guitar riff, and I feel like I had it for years and just didn't really think I got the song right. Wanted to make sure I did get it. I thought there was something cool there, and I wanted to finish it this time. And I remember really working on this one a lot. Sometimes you often hear the story of writers, just a song coming out in 5 minutes, and that's amazing. That's probably happened to me a few times, but there's also something with just working at a song. And I feel like we're better at crafting songs now than I used to be.
Sure.
And I was able to just work through problems and get to a spot where I felt was really good. And just the idea of having Jamie and I singing on the whole thing through was really exciting to me. It's definitely a Mother Hips harmony thing. Like Tim was helpful in that too. But we just started with the guitar riff, but I know I had a few different ideas for verses and choruses and just worked at it until I thought we got somewhere. And that was one that I was particularly excited about. You always want to go into the studio with at least one rocker in your back pocket. Like, okay, we got that. Because those are the hardest ones to write, I think.
Oh.
We felt real good about that. We've been playing it live recently and it goes over. So I'm excited about that one.
All right. Let's check it out now. This is the Coffis Brothers with Do You Want To? And you're listening to Backstage Sonoma.
Of a feeling, maybe it's less of an attitude. Do you want to?
Kellen Coffis is my guest today on Backstage Sonoma. I'm Steve Roby, and the Coffis Brothers' new album is about ready for release. We're sampling a few tracks from it today. We just heard Do You Want To? Kellen, with most of you coming from the Santa Cruz area, one member, Santa Rosa, how do those different Northern California scenes influence your sound and the band's total vibe, would you say?
Pretty laid back, and I have to imagine that is a product of growing up in the Santa Cruz Mountains in this area. I think things are a little bit slower here, and you can hear it in our songs often. Just the scenery is mentioned often, and that's just when you live here. It's just part of your everyday. The other thing that I think is this could be helpful, and it could also in some you could have a version of this say a detriment, but we're not really influenced by too many outside things. We listen to music all the time. We're listening to music constantly, but we're not influenced by new trends or anything like that because they're just not here. We're not around it. But just day to day, we're not playing in venues where we're seeing the new trendy thing happening and then we're going, oh, we better copy that. Or even the fans coming out to shows want to see a specific thing. We've just always been ourselves and just thought about music in that way. I think over the years, it's actually been a really helpful thing. We've never really been short-sighted and going like, we need to do this type of thing. We've just always thought about we're going to be us. And that's that really, even if it doesn't get a whole lot of likes and action on social media, like that's important to us. And I do think now that we've built relationships with people, and that's a big reason why.
Let's play another track from the album. This one is called Cut Right Through. What can you share with our listeners about this song?
This is a song Jamie wrote. What I remember, we were trading song ideas, and he had several. And then this one, as you get into that mentality of, hey, we got to write songs. You might have some ideas floating around for a while, but this one came out of nowhere, and it's one of my favorites. A really strong song. It just feels like what we're often trying to do, which is just a really compelling melody with words that are compelling and a really good vocal performance. And so it's very simple. It's very straight ahead. And
let's play it now. And the song is called Cut Right Through. You're listening to Backstage Sonoma.
So many things get me all worked up. I got my share, but it was never enough. For most of my life, I just figured it was all made up. I started packing it in, I was playing
Let's cut right through another track from the upcoming Coffis Brothers album. Kellen Coffis is in the studio with us today, and we're talking about the new album. Speaking of the new album, what's the best way for our audience to pick up the record when it's released?
I'm biased, but I think the best way is to come to a show and grab it from the merch table. But you'll be able to order it through our website, and we'll get like a pre-order thing going on the website where you can get vinyl or the CD, whatever you're into. Of course, you can always stream these things, and that'll be available too.
What's in store for the group in the coming year? Are there any new tours or recordings you got planned?
Yeah, I guess it would be an album release tour in the next few months, mostly of California markets that we played a lot. So you'll see us in familiar places, and then in 2025 we'll start expanding out a little bit more around the States. We're going to do some shows next year, backing up John Craigie, and we did a few this last year. We're going to do more of that. So that'll all happen, but we don't really stop. Our formula has just been hit these markets every weekend and get to around the country as much as possible. So we're still opening up that, but primarily West Coast for us. Yeah. But keep an eye out because we'll get all over.
What's the best way for our audience to follow you? Social media or go to your website? Do you have a newsletter?
I've been enjoying the email newsletter a lot lately and reconnecting to that and finding ways to make that more personal. Social media is good too. It's very easy to follow us there, but we've been exploring with new ways to spread information. So email is a good way to track us. And then we'll also be, if this is interesting to anyone, we'll be sending some actual physical mail out to people. So if you're interested in that, receiving postcards, we've been doing that too, and we've been enjoying that a lot.
Oh man, I love that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think people get burnt out on social media. I know, I do. It's fun to do something a little more personal and real and physical.
Yeah, definitely. Physical media, I think, is the best.
I do too.
You've got an upcoming show at the Sweetwater Music Hall in Mill Valley coming up on November 1st. What can fans look forward to from this performance? And do you have any special plans for the set list or surprises for the audience?
Sweetwater is one of the coolest venues anywhere, so we're really excited to be there. I think we played there early last year, so it's been a long time for us. So just that alone makes it like, that one on your calendar for sure when you're playing at Sweetwater. It's okay, we're going to do something new, but this is a really good timing for us. I think we'll probably have the CDs there in person for the first time.
Oh, okay.
Not the vinyl, but the CDs. And we're getting together right now and rehearsing and learning all the new songs again. Once you do them in the studio, you go away from them for a little while, and we're working on getting those back. And I think that's been our target date for having all these new songs ready.
Good.
It'll be a different show. We play in Marin in Sonoma County a few times a year, and we've got a lot of close friends and fans up there. This will be a different show for sure. We're making sure of that.
Good. And let me remind our listeners, the Coffis Brothers will play the Sweetwater Music Hall in Mill Valley on Friday, November 1st. Doors open at 7 p.m. and showtime is at 8 p.m. You can go get tickets now. They're available at sweetwatermusichall.com. Kellen, thanks so much for being on the show today. I really appreciated the conversation, and have a good show.
Thanks so much, Steve. I really appreciate you having us and reaching out.
Backstage Sonoma will be right back after this quick break.
Welcome to Backstage Sonoma, your all-access pass to the heartbeat of the Bay Area music scene. From jazz to rock, blues to world music, we bring you intimate conversations with the artists shaping our soundscape. Hear their stories, explore their inspirations, and dive deep into the creative process that makes each performance unforgettable. Hosted by Steve Roby, seasoned radio personality and best-selling author, Backstage Sonoma has featured Grammy winners like Judy Collins, Colby Kyle Lott, Leslie Mendelsohn, and chart-topping guitarist Adam Hawley. With over 200 episodes and 4 years of exclusive content, we keep you connected to the local and touring musicians making waves today. Whether you're a lifelong music lover or discovering new tunes, join us on Backstage Sonoma. Available on all major streaming platforms, including YouTube. Don't miss a beat. Subscribe now and be part of our growing community of listeners. Backstage Sonoma, where the music never stops.
Thanks for listening to the Backstage Sonoma podcast. Join us next time for more great interviews and music from local and touring musicians. You can find us on the web at backstagesonoma.com.